Hey guys, it's Rob from Team DBZ Biscuit, and gotta say, missed ya. Yeah, I know it's been a while, but back by popular demand is that ever-improving Dark World deck of mine. Obviously, the ban list didn't do me any favors, didn't bring back Morphing Jar, didn't bring back card destruction, but, you know, just trying to plant some seeds in the minds of Konami. But, you know, Dark World, as I've found out and I've said before, is a deck that will just keep foraging, and it'll just keep, it'll keep graduating to yet another level of stupidity and hate. But, you know, as far as it goes, it's one of my favorite decks of all time. It's got to be in the top, I think it's in at least the top 3, along with Towers Turbo when the Cold Fort era was around, and obviously Chaos Dragons, which is a lot more fun now that I've actually learned the deck. But let's see what kind of nasty stuff we got today. The rock star of the deck is actually Grapha. Grapha is just an amazing reoccurring problem child, as Emmanuel would love to call him. You know, because once he's in that graveyard, he's going to keep coming back out and keep coming back out and keep coming back out because of the fact that it's an inherited summon and it's not an effect, which is awesome. But Grapha's effects are amazing. You know, he gets discarded from your hand, he gets to pop a card on the field. If he's caused by your opponent's card effect, he becomes a random pick of your opponent's hand, and if that card is a monster, it is special summoned to your side of the field, which could really break up some stuff. You know, it's a pretty nasty thing. And I mean, with the field spell on the field, he's 3K, and he's not an easy monster to get over turn 1. Follow him up by Snow. Snow is the Stratos of the deck, and obviously every deck has its Stratos except for E-Heroes, because that boy's been banned forever and a day. But you know, Snow's effect as you know, he's discarded to the graveyard. He gets to search any Dark World card, and I mean, you know, it could be a Grapha, it can be a Brow, it can be a Beige, a Silver, a Gold, it can be Dealings, it can be a spell card, it can be a trap card, it can be anything. You know, and if by chance it's done by your opponent's card effect, he becomes Monster Reborn on your opponent's graveyard. And that means you get to grab a monster out of their graveyard and bring it to your side of the field, which is pretty fun. That's followed up with 3 Brows. Brow is the draw engine, basically, for this deck, because if he's discarded, you get to draw. If you send him for Gate, you get to draw twice. And if it's caused by your opponent's card effect, you draw 2. So he is a chief and principal part of that massive Dark World draw engine that Dark World seems to have so it doesn't kill itself. But 3 Brows. I run 2 Dark World Beige. Beige is one of those Dark World monsters that if you end up discarding him for Gates, he comes out. If he's an easy automatic Grapha, is what I'm going to say. Along with him is I run 1 gold and 1 silver. 1 gold and 1 silver. And now I get confused on which one does which, but honestly, if it's done by your card effect, it comes out. If it's done by your opponent's card effect, one of them will pop cards out of hand and put them to the bottom of the deck. The other will pop 2 cards on the field and put them at the bottom of the deck. It's pretty nasty stuff if you can get your opponent's card effect to do it. Understandably so, Dark World Brainwashing had come out. It's just very difficult to use. I don't use it in my build personally, but it would be nice if Dark World Brainwashing wasn't such a variant dependent card. It needs variables. And that does it basically for the Dark World monster lineup. One card I found very life-saving in this deck, and it happens to be Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Fiendish Rhino, if you got 3 Graphas out there and a Fiendish Rhino, and you attack and your opponent says Mirror Force, the only card that gets killed is the Rhino. It protects any other Fiend on the field, which is crazy. Someone dark holes with the Rhino. The Rhino is the only thing that dies. Regeki, Rhino dies. Graphas all stay in place. It's crazy. And not to mention, when he's sent to the graveyard, he can add any Fiend to the graveyard, which means he is an automatic Grapha in the grave. For the most part. I mean, I've never tried to throw anything different because all Dark World monsters have to come from hand. So when Grapha goes to the graveyard from the deck, I mean, it just means he's coming back. You're not done seeing him. And of course I run the 1/4 of a tour guide into a Rhino, make a Leviathan Dragon, detach the Rhino still gets its effect, bring out the Grapha. You know, and it's all just a, well, depending on who you are, it can be a fortunate or an unfortunate chain of events to see a Grapha go to the graveyard for any reason. If you're the Dark World player, you want to see it. If you're not the Dark World player, you don't want Graph going to the grave. But that's the monster lineup. Next we go into the spell cards. And it seems mandatory in any deck now that you at least run a field spell. So therefore, I run 2 terraforming right off the top, because I want to get that field spell as fast as possible. Again, seeing the field spell, which is the Gates of Dark World, has Dark World in the name, you can search it with snow, which is pretty retarded in its own right. You know, but that's part of the massive draw engine. As I've always said about Dark World, it must have a massive draw engine just so it can try to sustain life. I mean, I watched people play Dark World, and we were discussing this earlier today as well, and some people just gotta know when to stop. You know, you don't want to sit there and have a brow in hand, you know, and it's your only way to get Graph out of the graveyard. And then, you know, I've seen so many people do it, summon brow, get the Grapha, and then automatically use the brow for gates so they can draw 2 cards. And then what happens? They get nothing. I mean, and it's a Dark World more for me. I mean, I don't like using old Yu-Gi-Oh terms, but the term control comes into play with this deck more now than it ever did before. You have to control yourself. If the draws aren't happening your way, you know, just stop. You know, kind of like the old Maxi challenge, you know, when Maxi was around. So many times people would drop a Maxi on me and I would rather not summon a monster or just end my turn right as soon as he hits the graveyard. I just don't want people drawing off it. Of course, Konami took care of that for us. But anyway, back to the deck. Gates is a great card. It boosts all fiends by 300. You banish 1, you discard 1, you get to draw a card, and then depending on if it's a snow, you get a search. If it's a brow, you get to draw another one. If it's, you know, Rhino, you get to add Grapha to the grave. I mean, it's crazy stuff. It's, like I said, either a fortunate or an unfortunate turn of events. Still running only 2 dealings. I'm looking for a 3rd. Trying to find a way to move it in Dark World, but again, with Dark World dealings, you dump a Dark World monster, it gets its effect. You dump a Rhino, it gets its effect. It's a very graveyard-based deck. Now my Insight card, probably one of my favorite cards to play nowadays, and that's probably why I play 3 of them, is Drag Down to the Grave. Drag Down lets me know what you are playing, because by looking at the first 5 cards in your hand or the first 6 cards in your hand on a Drag Down, I get to see what you're playing, and I get to choose one to throw to the grave. Meanwhile, I'm going to have you throwing a brow to draw 2, or a snow to draw and search. Or, like I said, it's unfortunate, or fortunate, depending on what you are. Or depending on how much you want me to see. And if I'm getting in there 3 times in a game, I'm pretty much going to be throwing everything you want me not to throw. That is followed up by Allure of Darkness. And I run 3. Again, a great draw engine. You got plenty of dark monsters in here. You don't not play Allure. You know, in at 3. New card, and it's questionable at 2. I may break it down to 1 just because it is so hard to get 2 of them off. And the way that chain effects work nowadays is if you end up with an Into the Void and you play 2 into the, if you play 2 Into the Voids in the same turn, and you end up, first one goes off, you have to send a snow and a brow. You still get your snow search, you still get your brow draw, but then the second one kicks in and rips that out of your hand as well. So therefore, if you drew into a Grapha and a dealings, you don't get anything. You don't plus off of it at all. And which is why I definitely won't run 3 for that one purpose, for that main purpose. And then 2 is really questionable as well. I mean, I like the card. I'm not in love with the card by any means. But that does it for the spell card lineup. The trap card lineup is basically, you know, a typical Dark World thing. You're on your 1/4 skill drain. Skill drain is great because your effects activate in the graveyard. Nothing activates on the field with the exception of Tour Guide and Fiendish Rhino. So, I mean, but if you take those 2 and you make a 3000 attack power Acid Golem, an Acid Golem that doesn't burn you is a pretty useful thing. This I switched up. I run 3 Mirror Forces because it's so fun to watch people try to get around 3 of them. You know, eventually you're gonna, I mean, nobody plays Starlight Road anymore. Nobody plays Stardust Dragon anymore. You know, and it's really fun to watch people try to get around not 1, not 2, but a 3rd Mirror Force. It really wreaks havoc on true Dracos. I follow that up with 3 Reckless Greeds. Reckless Greed is a card, I mean, if I get 1 set, unless I'm really desperate, I don't use it. But if I have 2 of them set at the same time, I'm only gonna have to wait. I draw 4 cards and I have to wait 2 turns before I draw again. If I do 3, usually the people quit by the time I hit the 3rd. And it's again part of that draw engine, and it's more of a risk versus reward factor, and it really does. My last card that I run 3 of them in the deck nowadays because, you know, the game has gotten a lot more back row heavy, is 3 Heavy Storm Dusters. Heavy Storm Duster is just a really good card. I mean, setting 2 of them, playing against Pen Magicians, wait for them to set up their pendulum zones, take them out. You know, and that's the benefit. I mean, the card has its pros and its cons. The con of the card is that if you activate it on your turn, on my turn, I can't attack for the turn. So therefore, anytime I activate it, it's usually at your end phase. So therefore, you're losing cards. I'm not losing anything. But again, Heavy Storm Duster, it's a very good card. I enjoy it. I like it a lot. That does it for the main deck. Extra deck. And now I know there's cards missing from this because I lent Chris, my teammate, some for some of his decks, and I'm not running. You'll notice I don't have a Dark XYZ Rebellion Dragon. I don't have my Honor Arc. You know, my customary, you know, level 4, rank 4s. But I do have the most useless card in Yu-Gi-Oh! In Forever and Today, Buguska. That's because I want to sit here in defense mode, and for at least 2 turns, I want to watch you have to play everything in defense mode. I follow that up with, you know, something I love to do to people, burn Cowboy for game. Cowboy burning for game is always fun. I run a 1/4 Castel to set, you know, to send that monster back to your hand or back into the deck. I run the Abyss Dweller to shut down your effect monsters, not my own, in the graveyard. I run 1 Crazy Box because Crazy Box on gates and skill drain is 3300 attack, and you're just going to be dealing with it. And it's amazing. It is really amazing. Like I said, there's Honor Arc and there's an XYZ Dark Rebellion Dragon that I usually run in this as well. My rank 3s, wind up Zen mains, just in case I have to sit here and stall a little bit. And not to mention, if you can't destroy him, I get to pop something. Leviathan Dragon, you know, pretty beefy after detaching 2, and he's 3k. Granted, he can't attack directly, but he can still attack. Acid Golem, I already mentioned the benefits of Acid Golem on skill drain. 3k beater that doesn't do any burn damage to you. I run 1 Nightmare Shark in case I need to hit you for 2k per game directly. And of course the rank 8s, Hep 'em up. the light dragon there, the Heradic sun dragon there. He's freaking good. You detach one and destroy either a monster on the field or a monster from hand, and you can destroy a card on the field. Now if you do 2 cards from hand or 3 cards from hand, granted as a cost, Dark World monsters don't get their effects. But, you know, to just basically board wipe somebody and have a 3k beater on the field, and then be able to normal summon a monster and then bring a Grapha back out for another 3k. That's pretty good. And of course, the deck would not be complete with 2 number 22 Zombie Steins. I mean, not only is he got an effect that, yeah, granted, you detach, you discard a card, he goes to defense, negates the activation of a card, and he's really easy to run over, but if he's standing out there at 4,500 attack, you better find something really big to swing at this guy, because he is huge, he's massive, he's monstrous. But that does it basically for the extra deck. Side deck cards, I mean, in today's meta, a lot of the side deck cards would have to be the stuff to stop the hand trap revelation. The hand trap revolution is something I'm really disappointed Konami hasn't done anything about. To sit there and get ashed every time you try to play a spell card is stupid. To have somebody play 2 reincarnations and then draw Lockbird you, that's pretty stupid. But honestly, you know, I got a semi sort of side deck. You know, and it's built to take out those things in the hand. I run 3 full force viruses. Full force virus will take out anything with 21, with that 2,000 defense or less, which basically means any hand trap you got in your hand is dead. One Eradicator. Eradicator is great because it's so easy to get a monster big enough to use it in this deck, and it does do a lot of damage. It will do a lot of damage to spell and trap cards. I run 2 mistakes. Now granted, you know, I just said that I rely on Snow's effect. I don't rely on Snow's effect that much though. You know, and I can work around mistake. I can work around mistake where you need your searches. And if I play mistake and you can't search, I can still do all my Dark World nasty stuff. I run 1 Solemn Judgment, and the reason I throw that in there is because it's an ultra rare, it's a first ed, and I'm just doing nothing more than, I do it for no reason more than just to gloat about it. Just like my LOB first ed Monster Reborn Blue Eyes from the LOB. It's an amazing card, and Konami, you brought back 2 off on my ban page from my binder. I run 1 Dark Hole in case I need to field wipe, and again, it's Dark World, so you don't care if Grapha gets sent to the grave because he's coming back. I run 2 Anti-Spell Fragrances, and the reason I run Anti-Spell Fragrances is because of Pendulum Magicians are still a thing. Even after you took, I forget which one they took out, Black Fang Magician or Double Iris Magician, one of your annoying ass magicians. Of course, Magicians used to be one of my favorite decks. I run 3 Lighting Imprisoning Mirrors because it seems that the battle between light and dark is still raging on, and honestly, you don't want, you know, Light Imprisoning Mirror will shut down that Counter Fairy deck quicker than anything. And the last card, just because I had one, was Mind Control. Mind Control, granted, you can't tribute summon the monster, you cannot, you know, attack with their monster, but you know what, you can XYZ with their monster, you can synchro summon with their monster, and you can definitely use it for a Link monster. You know, take somebody's masterpiece and tribute it off for a Link Karibo. You know, but guys, that's the deck, and again, like I said, I've missed you. I'm glad we're back. We're doing more videos, we're doing more real life duels. You know, and thank God you guys are still around. And again, this is Rob from Team DBZ Biscuit, and I'm out of here.